And so there's a big fight in California that Judicial Watch has taken up because the anti-Trump politicians in California, in their desperation to get President Trump, have passed a law that not only targets President Trump, obviously, but steamrolls over the constitutional rights of California citizens. And we represent California voters who are Republican, we have, I think, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, and 1 independent voter who are objecting to a law that California signed, passed into, that California is implementing now, that requires anyone who wants to appear on a party primary ballot to publicly disclose their tax returns. And if they don't, they can't get their name on the ballot. And who's that targeted at? President Trump. Now, we allege in the lawsuit that we filed, I think it was last Friday, that the SB 27, which is the title of the law, imposes candidate qualifications beyond those allowed by the U.S. Constitution and impermissibly burdens a voter's expressive constitutional and statutory rights. So it violates the U.S. Constitution's qualification clause and the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment of their right, those rights protected in the First and 14th Amendment as it relates to our voters, our voter clients. Now, President Trump, since we have filed this lawsuit, has come in and filed his own lawsuit on his behalf, personally, on behalf of his candidacy. So he has a different set of allegations he's making. Obviously, he's got different standing or different issues that he has because of the direct targeting of him. But it just shows you why it's important to uphold the rule of law in the face of this political attack on President Trump. Because the left and this anti-Trump fanaticism, they don't care what the law is. They don't care what the Constitution is. They're going to do whatever they can do to get Trump. And the leftist-controlled media would have you believe, don't worry, Trump is a bad guy. It's about him and not about you. But it is about you. And it's about the U.S. Constitution. And it's about other candidates whose privacy rights will be attacked unconstitutionally. The qualifications clause of the U.S. Constitution limits the required qualification to 3 issues. To be a naturalized citizen, you got to be a resident in the United States for 14 years, and I think you got to be 35 years old. California can't amend the Constitution through this law and just change it willy-nilly. I mean, it's rather obvious, don't you think? And if you're a voter in California and you want to be able to vote for a candidate that otherwise might be able to run but can't because of this unconstitutional requirement that they publicize their tax returns, that's where your First Amendment and 14th Amendment rights get attacked and harmed. In fact, Governor Brown, I want to quote this. Governor Brown, the governor prior to the current governor, Newsom, vetoed the first iteration of this law. The California Legislative Council concluded it would be unconstitutional if enacted. And Brown noted, first, it may not be constitutional. Second, it sets a slippery slope precedent. Today we require tax returns, but what would be next? 5 years of health records? A certified birth certificate? High school report cards? And will these requirements vary depending on which political party is in power? A candidate's ability to appear on the ballot is fundamental to our democratic system. For that reason, I hesitate to start down a road that might well lead to an ever-escalating set of differing state requirements for presidential candidates. I agree with Democrat Governor Jerry Brown on this unconstitutional law. And Brown's comments here show you our concerns are nonpartisan. Because obviously this is targeting Trump, but it's not about Trump in the sense that it can have an impact nationally. You could have other states require Elizabeth Warren to submit the genetic testing. Another candidate, the candidates to require other candidates submit their medical records, high school records, Facebook friends. Who knows? This is an obvious attack on our constitutional system. And it's all about getting Trump. And they'll tear up the Constitution to get it. And I'm sorry, guys, this is part of a piece. You see the coup cabal trying to spy on Trump and breaking the rules. And you see California trying to tear up the Constitution to keep Trump off the ballot. Or otherwise get his, or if he's going to get on the ballot, get tax return data from him that he's not, he's protected from having to make public. There's no requirement any candidate provide their tax returns to run for president. To say that highlights its absurdity. Provide your tax returns to run for president? You know, it would be a joke if it weren't, what, California, I think, is the biggest state in the union still. Maybe Texas is. Well, you know what I mean. And taxpayers in California are going to be burdened by the costs of protecting this unconstitutional law because the left isn't backing down. Governor Newsom said something outrageous in response to these lawsuits. Commentators on both the left and the right who are experts in the law, you know, and I'm not going to predict that we're going to win because I can never predict what the courts are going to do, but there's a strong chance this is going to be knocked out. And it's got to be knocked out by November. It's got to be knocked out by November because that's when the requirement would have to be fulfilled in order for President Trump or any other candidate to appear on the ballots. So we'll be in court over the next few months with the president and others who are suing to protect the Constitution and the rule of law from this assault on the anti-Trump politicians who are don't care about the Constitution or the rights of voters in their own state. So we're proud to be able to do that work, again, with your support.